the audio. You don't always have to create a sequence from scratch. In fact, you can sometimes create a sequence that is from the actual footage itself, meaning you can use a clip to create a sequence that has the same dimensions and frame rate of the clip. Let's take a look at these clips. Let's press the tilde key and get some more information about them. That's the squiggly line on the top left of your keyboard. So let's move the video info column and also the video duration column so that we have frame rate, video duration, video info. Now we can see that almost all of them are 4K except for a few of them which are 1080, right? Which are HD, which means that our sequence should really be HD. That way we don't lose any data, right? We don't have a large canvas and we're trying to stretch a small clip to fit that large canvas. And also we have a bunch of 60 frames per second clips and then a bunch of 24. So we should really be building a sequence that is the size of the B camera clips. So what we can actually do, I'm going to press tilde again on my keyboard to get out of this window. We can drag this clip to the new item icon. And when we drag it, it creates a new sequence. So it creates a sequence and that sequence has our clip in it. Isn't that cool? So the only problem is right now it's in the footage bin, right? So let's create another bin and we'll call it O3 sequences. And you can see the sequence actually has the little logo of sequence on it. You can take that sequence and we will place it into the sequences bin. Just drag it in there. Yeah. So now there's a sequence and it's called WIMB01. We can rename it by going right click, rename, or just simply clicking on it twice. And I'll call this O1 string out because we love a good string out. Okay, so here we have the first clip for B camera, but we need all three cameras, right? So we're going to go to, let's see, we're going to go to A camera and we're going to grab that, put it in, and we're going to go all the way to C camera, right? We're going to put that in as well. So we have C, A, and B. And our B camera is properly the right size, but our C camera and our A camera are not. So what we're going to do, select everything, Shift Command F for set to frame size, and now everything is properly aligned. But not only are they not synced up to each other, they're also not synced up to the audio, because when we go out here, grab the audio as well, it's just, they're all mishmashed, right? And how can I tell? Well, I can just simply look at the waveform. When you're looking at the waveform of something, you can see where it doesn't quite line up. For example, I can just make all the waveforms a little bit thicker here so that we can see them. You see this little dip right here? Well, this little dip happens here, 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 and here, right? You can use these little moments to kind of see that this clip is not lined up. So I'm going to use the right and left arrow keys to see the exact moment that the slate hits. So that's on this magenta clip that's at the top, right? So the slate hit, but you can also see it in the waveform. You can see that little spike that happened. That's the slate hit, right? So you can check for the spikes in the other waveforms and you can line it up just visually like that. Now, you don't have to have a fancy slate every time. You could just clap your hands and it does the same thing. It takes a long time, right? So let's try to do that again. Let's grab B2 over here and let's grab an A2, stack that on top of it. Let's grab a C2 and let's grab the audio. So an easy way to just make sure that everything is perfectly aligned is select everything, right click, and click synchronize. Then make sure that your synchronize point is audio. It's going to analyze that audio waveform and it's going to sync everything up for you so that you don't have to do it manually, which is pretty wild, if I do say so myself. This is the slate clap, and you can see it happen on each one of these layers. Another way to audio sync is by using the multicam workflow, and this is the one that Adobe recommends. It's really, really helpful to name your clips. So my clips, luckily, are named, right? We have A1, and then we have C1, and then we have B1, and then we have the audio. So because everything's named, I know that they belong together. Another way to know that they belong together is to check the duration. So I'm pressing Command and I'm selecting all of them, but mostly because I want you to take a look at the duration. Here it's 6:53, 6:28, 6:53. This essentially tells you that they're meant to be together, right? Because the next one's 6:44, 6:40, 6:45. The next one is 8 something, 8 something, 8 something, and then 2 something, 2 something, 2 something. So even if they weren't named properly, I could still find them and know that they belong together. So now that I've selected the 3 different cameras and the audio by holding down Command, I can right click and go to create multi-camera source sequence. And this is essentially the same thing as the synchronize. I'm going to give it a custom name. So I'm going to call it take 1, and audio is going to be how I synchronize. And then I'm going to enumerate cameras, meaning each camera is going to be a 1, 2, or 3 on the keyboard. And then I'm going to press OK. It creates this really cool thing called a multi-camera source sequence. And you can see it appear right here. Its logo is a little bit different than the sequence logo. It's like synced, right? This one's out of sync. So let's take a look at what a multi-camera source sequence is. If I double click it, it's blank, nothing appears. But as I move, you can start seeing all 3 cameras all at once, and I can actually move in between cameras. Okay, so I went ahead and did that to all of the takes. You can see here in take 1, we have the 3 cameras. Take 2, we have all 3 cameras. Of course, this one's smaller because this one's recorded in 1080 and these 2 were recorded in 4K. Then we have take 3, and then we have take 4. So say I wanted to place them on the timeline. Well, I can just drag the multi-camera source sequence onto my timeline here, and it looks like this because it's a multi-camera source sequence, and I can actually switch between cameras by pressing 1, 2, or 3 on my keyboard. Right now I'm pressing 1, 2, and 3, and it's switching. It's also nested, so I can go inside of this sequence and see the actual clips. So if I hold down Alt and just select the audio and I double click, here's what that inside looks like. And I can go ahead and these big ones, I can change their size. So I can say 50, and clip A is also 50. So now all 3 of these are at 50%. Let's actually make this one a little bit larger, maybe like 60%. There we go. And if I go back here, that's been adjusted. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.